When it comes to the influx of immigrants to Hawaii, I believe the main reason was because of labor. And since the sugar industry was growing as well as other plantations, there was increased demand for manual labor. And at the time, plantation owners believed that Chinese were the best at working the fields and working at plantations, so they wanted those immigrants to come work for them. And also, due to the Kuleana Act, a lot of Native Hawaiians lost their land because they didn't register their land. Even though they've lived there for generations and generations, they still lost their lands due to a technicality. So I think that was one of the reasons it was like a push towards going to the U.S. to like find any other employment opportunities, like the California Gold Rush or the Northwest like pelts and stuff, as well as the Northeast whaling ships and whaling ports. But I think that was definitely one of the pushes to why Native Hawaiians went to the U.S. As well as I think the Native Hawaiians also adapted pretty well when they did go to the U.S. They did, even though some situations where they were treated like less than citizens, but they did bring their culture with them, so it's not necessarily they assimilated, but it was more of a melting pot. And when it talks about how in the primary source, it talks about how the Native Hawaiians and the Native Americans, since they had kind of similar cultures, they kind of intermarried, as well as shared each other's cultures with their children. And once the primary source has this quote where it's like, the Hawaiians intermarried with the Maidu Native Americans in the area, and 100 years later, many of their descendants still strongly relate with both ancestries today. And I think that does really work well with the melting pot theory, because it's not all one culture and all another. It's like a blend of each, and I think that's really cool to think about.